A violent storm tore across the night sky over the desolate stretch of road known as Dustline Highway. Lightning split the darkness while fierce winds howled through the towering canyon walls. Two massive trucks pushed forward through the rain like steel beasts fleeing the night. Behind the wheel of the first truck was Leo Carter, a young man who had grown up surrounded by the roar of engines and the smell of motor oil. In the truck behind him was Ryan Carter, his older brother, the one who had guided Leo ever since they were kids. The Carter brothers were used to long overnight hauls. But tonight felt different. In his rearview mirror, Leo noticed a strange light. A black truck emerged from the rain, silently trailing them like a shadow. No license plate, no radio signal, only the low growl of its engine cutting through the storm. Then suddenly, the black truck accelerated. It pulled up beside Ryan's rig, forcing it closer and closer to the edge of the cliffside road. Leo shouted into the radio, but the thunder swallowed his warning. The tires lost their grip. In that brief, terrible moment, Leo could only watch as his brother's truck was shoved off the road, plunging into the abyss below. A blinding explosion tore through the night. Ryan disappeared in a sea of flames. And Leo survived. But from that moment on, his life would never be the same. After the crash on Dustline Highway, Leo Carter survived against all odds, but the price was devastating. Part of his skull had been severely destroyed, forcing doctors to replace it with an experimental metal alloy that had never been used before. When Leo finally woke up in the hospital, he discovered something strange. Inside his head he could hear faint radio signals, weak frequencies, fragments of transmissions that no one else seemed able to hear. Ryan was never found. The police ruled the incident an accident caused by the storm. There was no trace of the black truck, no witnesses, no evidence. But Leo knew the truth. Someone had tried to kill them. Years passed. Leo eventually left the hospital, carrying the haunting memory of that night with him. He returned to the only place that still made him feel close to his brother, the endless highways stretching across the country. But Leo was no longer just an ordinary truck driver. Because of the strange signals he could hear, he began picking up scattered pieces of information from long-distance radio channels. Rumors. Fragmented conversations between night drivers traveling through the dark. One name kept surfacing through the static. Shadow Rider. A mysterious black truck that appeared and vanished along deserted highways. No one knew who the driver was. No one had ever clearly seen his face. But Leo was certain of one thing. It was the same truck that had forced his brother off the cliff, all those years ago. Rumors about Shadow Rider began appearing more and more often on the radio frequencies that only Leo could hear. Long-haul drivers whispered about a black truck that appeared in the dead of night faster than anything else on the road, then vanished before anyone could get a clear look at it. Every time the name surfaced through the crackling static, Leo felt his chest tighten. If Shadow Rider truly existed, then that night years ago had not been an accident. Leo stopped taking regular freight jobs. Instead, he devoted all his time to preparing for a different kind of journey. A hunt across the longest highways in the country. Inside an old garage behind Iron Stop, Leo began transforming his truck into something entirely new. He called it Nova Rig. Using his mechanical skills and the strange radio signals his alloy-enhanced brain could detect, Leo installed specialized control systems, frequency sensors, and equipment no ordinary truck driver would ever even think of using. The truck was no longer built just to haul cargo. It was built to hunt. Night after night, Leo drove the Nova Rig along the most isolated highways he could find. Across deserts, through shadowy canyons, past quiet towns sleeping under dim yellow streetlights. He followed every signal, every rumor from other drivers. And then one night, buried within the familiar radio static, Leo heard a voice. A low, steady voice, broadcasting on a hidden frequency. Shadow Rider is heading back to Dustline. That night, Leo immediately turned the Nova Rig toward Dustline Highway. His heart pounded as the radio frequencies inside his head began to distort more violently than ever before. Strange signals overlapped and clashed as if someone was trying to contact him, or track him. On the empty highway, Leo finally saw what he had been searching for all these years. Far ahead in the night fog, a black truck glided across the road before disappearing down a narrow turn that led deep into the barren desert. Leo hit the accelerator. The Nova Rig roared to life, chasing the shadow of the mysterious truck into a stretch of land where even the maps lost their signal. But the pursuit didn't end in a battle. Out in the desert, Leo suddenly discovered a massive metal structure half buried beneath the sand. A strange vessel unlike anything ever seen on Earth. The moment he stepped out of his truck, a tall figure with glowing eyes emerged from the darkness. The being claimed to be from the Orion Alliance. And it revealed a truth that left Leo stunned. For years they had secretly been observing Earth, searching for a human with the strength, intelligence, and courage to represent humanity within a network of civilizations across the stars. The one they had chosen was Leo Carter. But there was one problem. Their technology had been stolen, and the one using it was the very person Leo had been hunting. Shadow Rider. After the encounter with the being from the Orion Alliance, everything in Leo's mind began falling into place in a terrifying way. The black truck from years ago. the technology far beyond anything on Earth. The mysterious radio signals he had been hearing for years. All of it was connected to the stolen alien technology. But before Leo could learn more, everything spiraled out of control. Just days later, strange reports began spreading across long-haul radio frequencies. Truckers started talking about a black rig appearing on highways across the country. Mysterious crashes were happening in the middle of the night. Convoys were being forced off the road. Communication signals became distorted whenever the truck passed by. Shadow Rider was no longer hiding. He was hunting Leo. During a violent chase along a narrow mountain road, Leo finally confronted the black rig for the first time. The truck moved with impossible speed and precision, as if it were being driven by technology far beyond human capability. Leo's Nova rig was nearly pushed off the cliff, and in the brief moment when the two trucks raced side by side, Leo saw something that sent a chill down his spine. The symbol of the Orion Alliance, glowing on the side of Shadow Rider's truck. There could only be one explanation. The person behind the wheel of the black truck had obtained alien technology long before Leo ever did. The chase between the Nova rig and the black rig stretched for miles along the winding cliffs of Dustline. Engines roared, tires screamed against the rain-slick asphalt. Every maneuver from Shadow Rider was terrifyingly precise, almost as if he already knew Leo's every move. Leo tried to keep his distance, but suddenly the black rig surged forward. A pulse of electromagnetic energy burst from the truck's frame, causing Nova rig's control systems to flicker. The dashboard lights flashed wildly. Inside Leo's head, the radio signals shattered into chaotic bursts of static. At a sharp bend in the road, the black rig pulled up beside him. The two trucks were only a few yards apart. Then suddenly Shadow Rider slammed on the brakes and swung the truck sideways, blocking the entire road. Leo had no choice but to stop. Dust and engine smoke filled the space between the two rigs. The door of the black rig slowly opened. A man stepped out. The headlights illuminated a face Leo knew all too well. For a moment the world seemed to stop. Ryan Carter, the brother Leo had believed was dead for years. Ryan stared at him with cold, distant eyes. He calmly admitted everything: the crash that night, the alien technology. It had all been part of his plan. Ryan had never died. He had simply disappeared, stepping out of Leo's shadow. And now, as the truth came crashing down, Leo realized the most painful thing of all. The man he had been hunting for years was the only family he had left. Dustline Highway fell into a heavy silence. The desert wind swept between the two trucks, facing each other, carrying the smell of hot engines and burning rubber. Leo stood frozen still, trying to process the truth that had just been revealed. Ryan was alive. Ryan stepped a little closer. His eyes were no longer as cold as before. In his voice, Leo heard something new for the first time: not hatred, but years of exhaustion and bitterness. Ryan finally told the whole story. After the crash that night, he hadn't died. He had been rescued by the Orion Alliance. But they had made a mistake. They had mistaken Ryan for Leo. They believed Ryan was the one they had been searching for, the extraordinary driver, worthy of representing Earth. Ryan knew it was a misunderstanding, but for the first time in his life he had been chosen for something important. For the first time he wasn't living in his younger brother's shadow. So he said nothing. And he accepted their technology. But the longer he carried that power, the more he realized the truth. If Orion discovered their mistake, they would come back for Leo. And Ryan knew one thing for certain. If the two brothers ever stood before them together, Leo would always be the one they chose. Ryan looked straight at his brother. "So I had to prove I was better," he said quietly. At that very moment, the night sky suddenly lit up. A massive ship from the Orion Alliance appeared above Dustline Highway. And they announced one final test. The sky above Dustline Highway opened like a massive gateway of light. The ship of the Orion Alliance hovered high above the desert, casting a cold glow across the barren land. A deep, clear voice echoed from the vessel. "We require a representative for Earth. That individual must prove they are worthy." The challenge was announced immediately. A race. But not on a highway. A glowing energy portal opened above the desert, stretching out into the depths of space. The two trucks, Nova Rig and Black Rig, were lifted from the ground and launched onto a cosmic track winding between asteroids and Orion vessels. The race had begun. The trucks tore through space, weaving between floating rocks and blazing streams of energy. Ryan pushed the Black Rig with relentless determination, driving as if his entire life depended on every turn of the wheel. Because to him, it did. But in the final moments, Ryan made a mistake. The Black Rig lost control and slammed into a massive asteroid. An Orion rescue beam pulled Ryan to safety just seconds before the truck exploded. The Nova Rig was the only vehicle still racing forward. The Orion Alliance declared Leo Carter the victor. His road was no longer Dustline Highway. It was the highways between the stars. Leo guided the Nova Rig into the endless expanse of space. The first truck driver from Earth to travel the galaxy.